Go ahead.
We have a quorum. Thank you, everyone. Therefore, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Good afternoon. Today is Tuesday, March 11th, 2025, and this is the regular meeting of the El Paso County Historical Commission. The time is 4:02 p.m. Can everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? It's okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, one and indivisible,
With liberty
and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. So focused on not forgetting that one. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Here's your swizzle stick.
Thank you. All right. Would you like to call attendance, please?
Yes, Chair. Commissioner Welch.
Here.
Commissioner Kidney.
Here.
Commissioner Bear is absent. Commissioner Chaparro is absent. Commissioner Condon.
Here.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Here.
Commissioner Howe is absent. Commissioner Kanoff.
Present.
Commissioner McDonald is absent. Commissioner McKenzie.
Present.
Okay, you may
That's it.
proceed.
Okay. Has anyone signed up for public comment?
We don't have anyone signed up for public
All
comment.
right. That takes us then to the consent agenda. First of all, the consent agenda consists of item 5A and B. Is there anyone who'd like to pull something from the consent agenda before we vote on it? Okay, no. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion?
Yes?
Yes, here.
Okay.
Second.
Is there a second?
I second.
If you'd like to call it.
Our second was McKenzie.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. And that takes us on to our regular agenda. Okay, regular agenda, item A, discuss and take appropriate action to recommend to the El Paso County Commissioners Court that they submit to the Texas Historical Commission, THC, and the National Park Service, NPS, a request to reconsider the previously submitted application designating downtown El Paso a National Historic District. And that's one of my entries. Basically, as I think all of you know, we had submitted the paperwork and everything for the designation of the Downtown National Historic District. The NPS and the THC had actually accepted it on its historical merits. However, it was rejected because a certain percentage of downtown business owners had opted out, and because of that, the district could not go forward. Now, it's our understanding that that has changed, and a certain amount of the business owners downtown who had voted to not approve the district have now changed their minds. And so what I'm asking you all, if you would approve that I write a letter to Commissioners Court asking them to pursue this with the two entities involved. They had held our application in abeyance. It's a very expensive and time-consuming application. So rather than just totally throwing it out when we didn't meet the percentage of approval, they said that they would hold it for a certain amount of time. So right now, I would just like to see if I could get you all to approve me writing a letter requesting that we go forward on this.
I so move.
Commissioners, just if I could add a little bit more information before you take your action, just for the discussion. So one of the things that we'd like to verify, and staff is working on this, is if the reason stated by the opposition, which was the city's H overlay ordinance, if that has been addressed. So we just want to verify that, because that was also part of the reason the court hesitated to reactivate that. So we want to verify that, and of course you're free to make
Yeah.
whatever motion you'd like, but
And it
I'd
is
like
my
to.
under- Yeah, it's my understanding that that actually has been
So
done.
we want to verify that, ma'am. And then two, if it's helpful and if the commission would like, we can also invite Ms. Providencia Velasquez, who is the city's HPO, to give a brief presentation at your next meeting when you take up whatever action you make today. And that may add content to whatever you want to send if it's the letter. So that might be helpful. The other thing that staff is working on is to follow up with NPS and THC, and some of you may know the answer to this. So what the THC did at the time was submit the nomination for determination of eligibility to NPS. And then, so the question is, does the THC then have to resubmit for listing, or can NPS move it over? And so we just want to verify that process so that when you are asking the court to make, to take an action, that we understand what action we're asking them to take. So I'd like to bring that back to you at your next meeting for additional context to perhaps go into your letter. And what we can do next time is Commissioner Welch can bring her draft. We can have this presentation. Hopefully we have more direction from the THC and NPS, and we can make any edits to the draft and then send to Commissioner's Court.
Okay, and I will just say, we have not been able to determine the deadline, so we might be on a deadline, and I would hate this to keep on going on from month to month and miss that deadline. We do know that it was held in abeyance by the Park Service, not the THC. The THC had actually forwarded it on. They had gone through all the steps up through the Park Service. So even though we are asking for both to be included, the final, the destination where it's sitting at is with the NPS right now.
Yes, ma'am, but there's a distinction between the THC submitting for determination of eligibility and the THC submitting for listing on the register. What THC did with like Segundo
Yeah.
Barrio, for example, was request the listing, and that of course went through, as you know. What we aren't clear of is the deadline, right? And also if THC can move it over for listing, because all they did was determine the eligibility.
eligibility.
Or if THC has to resubmit it for eligibility, and that's, it sounds like a little technical thing,
Yeah.
but I'd really love to get you clarity for the April meeting, which is when you're going to bring back your draft.
And I would really like to get that date, which I have been unable to determine because for all we know, it's already passed. We don't know.
Yes, ma'am.
I have the, where they said that we were eligible, that they would hold it in abeyance, but there's no date listed, not even like 3 years, there's nothing. So, yeah, I know. We just need to go forward on it. I mean, I don't really think that we need to have Provi at the next meeting, I'll say. I can track down the fact that the city did indeed move away from the statement that they had made from the taxation that they were, the taxation that actually frightened, I'm going to say very bluntly, some people into asking, to not approve. But, and I can track that down too. I just don't want this to go on for 4 months. I would really like, optimally, if the commission, obviously you guys can just say no, but if you approve me to write the letter, I'd really like, we can still do research in the meantime, but have the letter ready for your approval at the next commission meeting, because from there it still has to go to the county commissioners and the judge.
And we still need to get a legal review before.
So, yeah, so it's already on an extended deadline. I don't want to extend that another month if at all possible.
Yes, ma'am, I understand. And what I'm proposing would be in time for your next meeting.
Okay, but so basically, since we have a lot of time to sort out the next meeting, I would just like to see if somebody would make a motion to approve me beginning to work on this letter, which we'll have in time for the next meeting.
I so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes, and we will bring the draft back to you for your review at the next meeting.
Okay. All right. That takes us on to agenda item 6B. Discuss and take appropriate action to select a chair for the Education and Heritage Tourism Committee. And I know that I can throw this to you, Cynthia, but I just want to say, I mean, this is an essential committee, and we really need a chair. Even if we have community members really doing a lot of the work, et cetera, such as, with our publications, we have a lot of community members involved. But we cannot go any further unless we have an actual member of the commission standing in as the chair. So with that in mind, Cynthia, do you want to say anything, or can we have some discussion?
I just want to add that per your bylaws, Commissioner Welch and Commissioner Condon, as chair and vice chair of the Historical Commission, act as ex officio at the committee meeting, so they are not eligible to chair the committees. So this really,
Limits.
the question then falls to the rest of the membership.
Yeah. And so, I'm, as people who have been on this committee in the past know, I'm totally involved and will continue to be involved, but I cannot, per our bylaws, chair the committee. So I'm just reaching out to those of you who are here. Would anybody just come up and say that they will be the chair of this committee? And we can go forward from there. Cynthia has offered, as she has done with the Markers Committee, to set up invitations for the actual meetings and things like that. We do have a very, very strong community component to this committee, but we just need a person to say they'll put their name on it.
If I may add real quick, and I can elaborate more during our updates, but if this helps as far as staff support goes, I'm here to help. We're also bringing on another member of the department in the Heritage Tourism Division, so there'll be additional help as well. So if that puts any minds at ease.
How often would this committee have to meet at the call of the chairperson?
Thank you, sir.
How often?
I didn't hear
We
that.
know?
How often? I mean, that's basically, can be, I mean, there's no set amount of dates or anything like we have in the commission itself meetings. So it could be, every 2 months, it could be every 4 months, it could be as needed. And, once we have the chair, I mean, we can determine the chair doesn't even have to be at every meeting. I mean, I'll be at, so the chair could call a meeting and be unable to attend, which has happened in the past with other committees. And, some of us, probably myself, will be representing the commission. I just cannot chair it per our bylaws. Okay, people, anybody?
I'm going to regret this.
No, you will. I'll make sure you don't, John, if you do.
I'll do it.
Okay. Commissioner Hamilton, I'll make sure you don't regret it. I know.
Yes, well, you'll have our full support, Commissioner Hamilton, and just to your question about how often the committees are required to meet per your bylaws, committees must meet a minimum of 4 times per year, but can meet as often as needed.
Yeah, so it's not that onerous, and, I mean, and we have some singular focuses, of course. Publications is a big focus. History Day, which you very much ran with, things like Texas Treasures, which I've done in the past, so.
We came, we saw, we awarded.
Now do it in Latin.
Weedy
You can't do Veni
Vici.
Vidi Vici, because that's I. You got to change that.
is, yes.
All right, very, very cool. Well, I don't think we have to vote on that, correct? I mean, it does, I'm really not sure on that.
So we did vote on the other ones, so if we could go ahead
Okay.
and, so there's a nomination for Commissioner Hamilton to be the chair of the Education and Heritage Tourism Committee. Are there any other nominees? No? Seeing none?
No one else? No one?
Okay.
Don't all raise your
I'm
hands.
going quick. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations, and thank you for your service.
But I have abstained.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, that takes us to agenda item 6C, which is receive an update from the Historical Marker Committee regarding upcoming deadlines, applications, and dedication ceremonies. Well, unfortunately, Commissioner Bear is not here. I can tell you that we have the, what are we, the non-dedication on March 30th. Okay, that's right. We have the celebration of Camp Concordia, which is a marker that we are reinstalling on March 30th. And then we have some applications going in for markers, but not a lot beyond that. I mean, we're still working on some other dedications, but nothing is confirmed. And the real big deadline is on the upcoming marker that Woody has one for the quarry that became the police academy. And I, of course, have Ruben Salazar. And we have the Bailey Cemetery in Canutillo. Those three for sure will go in.
I got
And actually, I'm going to add, Brian has some suggestions that he'd like to talk to, or like read in to the minutes here,
Yes.
so that they go for the future. So if you want to take it away.
Yes, as far as markers are concerned, I'd like to create a marker for the El Paso County Coliseum. It's 80 years old, and WPA and the historical significance of that building should not go unnoticed. And I would like to get the ball rolling to put a marker there. And as far as, should I pause, and do you need anything else from me on that?
We could look at it also for the actual building, the architectural significance.
Oh, there's many,
Yes,
yes.
that's what I'm saying. We don't have to just look at it for a subject marker. It would fall under so many different things
Yes,
that.
it's, yes, the way it was funded originally, the architecture,
So-
the multi-use.
So that's just something,
yeah.
I mean, we definitely will address. We'll address it in the markers meeting, et cetera. That's actually come up from the community
Yeah.
more than a few times in the past few months.
Right. Unfortunately, old Blue Eyes is not available, and neither is Elvis, so they both perform there. But,
It's like,
and Willie's still alive, and he did the rodeo.
let's-
Oh, diddly.
okay, you
Okay,
guys.
yeah, all right. The second one has to do with cemeteries. And I would propose that we create a marker commemorating the two Jewish cemeteries that are at the south end of Concordia. People think it's just a single Jewish cemetery, but there are not. They are two distinct cemeteries conjoined. The one on the left, as you walk in, the westernmost was created in 1893. It's Temple Mount Sinai's. And the one on the right is Synagogue, Congregation B'nai Zion, and it was created in 1896. And I think that we could have a single plaque or monument in the center of the two. There is a kind of a grassed-in area with benches, and it would be a perfect place to put that monument. And I think that it's obviously long overdue.
I agree on it being long overdue. If we're doing cemetery markers, which have no deadline,
No, right.
I mean, they are historical markers, but there's.
No, I'm saying, I
we
prefaced
can't,
it with
we can't
cemetery.
conjoin them. We'd have to do two separate ones. We'd have to do one cemetery marker for each cemetery. I just want to point that out.
You're sure
before-
about that?
Yeah, very sure.
Okay.
So, I mean, because
No, you're right. There are two distinct
Yes,
cemeteries.
so
Well, that's fine.
of that, and also because those are,
They're small.
yes.
That's,
So,
no, that's a good.
anyway, I just want that
No,
done.
no, I get it. I
But,
get it. No argument here.
So that's just
I've got it on my
for
list,
you all's information, basically,
Like
since we're
it.
talking about markers, and we will bring all of this up in the markers meeting. Those of you who are on it, I really hope you can attend the next one, because we are really going to suss out a lot of stuff, okay?
Okay.
So anything else on markers? All right, well, This one was just information only, no action taken. So that brings us on to agenda item 6D, which is receive history, heritage, and historic preservation related announcements and upcoming events from the county historical commissioners. So Patricia, I will start with you.
Okay. I think I'll start first with saying that I was able to promote the history of El Paso County and Concordia at the Columbus, New Mexico raid, the anniversary, the commemoration, the 109th commemoration of the raid on Columbus, New Mexico by Pancho Villa back in 1916, March 9th. And this year, they combined both the commemoration as well as the celebration of the friendship ride from Mexico, starting at Palomas, and combining the Americans with the Mexican horse riders and to promote friendship along in Columbus. So normally they've kept them separate, but this time is the first time they've done it. It seemed to work out fairly well. They started their commemoration at 10. The horse parade, the cabalgata, got there at 11:45. It was bitterly cold, 46 degrees. Sun came out once, I think. Cold winds. Even though I was layered to the max, I just didn't have anything heavy enough to protect the biting wind. It took me 2 days to thaw out. But the good news was I'm able to say mind over matter. And I met several historical people. One was the president of the Chihuahua Historical Society. Didn't get her card. She didn't bring any. But the person who introduced me is the preservation officer there with the Historical Society in Columbus. I have her information. We were able to promote with the Deming Historical Society. Anywhere I go, I promote. You know, I promote Concordia, I promote El Paso. And then I also pick their brains so much they're like shriveled up by the time they leave me. There's nothing left. I was also able to promote us to the new head of the Sergeant Major's Academy. His name is Vernon Yates. He's from Tyler, Texas. And he's new here, and he they're up to class 75, I think he said. Might be a little more. My brother was class of 13, so I've always had an interest in the Sergeant Major's Academy. But a particular note is that they always take that academy over to Columbus and spend a great deal of time studying the area, studying the tactics that were used. And it's a big training point for the Sergeant Major's Academy. And he said, because I cornered him and told him we have to do a tour of his class. And he said, curiously enough, as I reviewed all the notes from the outgoing head, big letters, must see Concordia.
Oh, cool.
So Camel's Nose is under the tent. And then, let's see, of course, we always learn so much that supports our connection here. They were showing a documentary by I never get the pronunciation right, Ravel or Ravel, somebody can pronounce, brothers who had the store. They're buried in the Jewish section. Two of them are. And so we have a definite connection to that raid and to that historical thing. We start with the Gringo's Curve. We then go to the first person killed in the raid was a National Guardsman there on a weekend. He went on his own. He was the first person shot. He's buried at Concordia. We did a headstone for him, memorial headstone. So we have such a connection to El Paso, and I really bring that in. The other thing, I had a chance to meet with some people from Hudspeth County, and I was asking about their current historical commission. I know that Joe Neely used to be a big part, and I do think Joe Neely passed away. But my main interest was there is an area marked off designating the site of Camp Rice, which was then Fort Hancock, the old fort. Have you been there? Do you know it's a small, it's a
Haven't been there for a
small.
long time.
It's a
very small
small
enclave.
spot
Yes.
there. And the bricks that were used for it were from the original Camp Rice from it. And so they had, there were things engraved in cement. So I had done a eulogy for a good friend, and relatives were from Fort Hancock. So I cornered them and asked them to follow up to help me figure out. They said they thought there might be a historical marker there, but my concern is the protection of it. I've always been worried it just gets chipped away. It's just on a little side of at the edge of a cotton field. And Woody and I were there sometime in the last 4 years. We went over and looked. So anyway, so I'm on the trail of that. And then we're still getting calls about the Chinese history. I'm doing tours, people coming in from out of town. And I'm finding more and more information. People are, it's just coming out of the woodwork.
Cool.
You know, when you show an interest. Still have not heard from our traveling Chinese Benevolent Society person to give me an update on the inscription for the dedication. I'm trying very patiently not to call her and say, are you back? Are you back? Have you thought? You know, can I come look at your boxes of records? And yeah. So that's pretty much where we are at Concordia.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Thank you,
It's
Patricia.
a lot, yeah.
Commissioner Condon.
I don't have a whole lot, but the Keystone NPS eligibility nomination was submitted in late January, and it's being reviewed again by THC, and we should get some comments back in March. So the first draft came in, there were some minor edits, and resubmitted, and that's the process we're in right now. And then, of course, once those edits any forthcoming edits are addressed, the nomination will go to the NPS.
That's fantastic. Well done. And really pretty quickly, too. No, I mean, in the context that, yeah, that's fantastic. Commissioner Hamilton.
The museum on Fort Bliss is open, to the best of my knowledge.
Okay.
They have a very good exhibit with the armored vehicles in the back, and they have
Okay.
a temporary exhibit up on the Columbus Raid,
Oh, cool. Cool.
which is worth seeing.
Yeah.
Don't know what the outcome of what's going on right now. If they lose one person in the purge, then
Yeah,
that hurts them.
That's unfortunately
And
happening.
there is the chance that they will lose at least one, possibly two. They'll be fired, and then they'll have to close. Maybe forever. this
We'll
time.
hope not. We'll hope not, because they just barely got open again.
Did. Yes,
Well, visit it while you can.
do it
then.
while you can.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Commissioner McKenzie.
Well, I set up an exhibit at Fort Furlong in Columbus on last Saturday, and then did a presentation there. And then this week, at the meeting of the Southwest Chapter of the Railway and Locomotive Historical Society, I'll be talking about the use of the El Paso Southwestern Railroad and the Southern Pacific Railroad in defending the border during the Mexican Revolution, how the railroads were used to keep the revolution from spilling over into the U.S. And I'll be doing that also later on for the Corral of the Westerners.
Just troop transport or actual physical boundary?
Well, everything.
Okay, interesting. Okay, I got to find out more about that. All right, anything else?
That's it.
Okay, cool. Commissioner Kanoff?
As on February the 22nd, Mark Calamia, Gary Williams, and I refurbished the Fesselman Canyon monument.
Marker?
And on the 26th, Gary and I did the same thing for the Federal Copper Company Monument in Memorial Park.
And they look stunning.
They,
Thank
we,
you.
yeah,
They really
that,
do.
that second one really, really
Yeah, it
took,
jumps.
that was, yeah, that was problematic, but that's all right. We
Cool.
got it done, yeah.
They look great.
And I scouted the current monument that was on the list for rehab at the Coliseum, the one that commemorates the
one.
rodeo. And it's fine. It has one little area where there's a little bit of, the black paint is scuffed off, but it can wait several years before it needs to have attention. It's really nice shape. And I took a picture of it, so.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I don't have anything further, so, again, information only. That brings us on to agenda item 6E. Receive updates from El Paso County staff on heritage tourism, historic preservation, and economic development.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Dr. Cynthia Renteria, for the record, with Economic Development. So a quick update, the report on the archaeology report for Casa Ronquillo was submitted to the THC. You know, a few weeks ago, we are still in that 30-day response from the THC. I do meet with my colleagues in Public Works regularly. In fact, we're meeting next week, I believe, to see if there are any other updates. So that one has moved forward, which is good because then we can see what the process is to continue the project out there. The THC responded on the submission of the archaeology work plan for the Old County Jail, and everything's ready to go on the THC side. We are now looking, and we also did receive the design plan. So we're looking at what the county has budgeted for that project, and we're going to be asking the subcontractor, or the contractor, I'm sorry, to phase out that preservation project. And as soon as we have that, I'm happy to ask them to come present to the commission. I think initially we were hoping that we could close the jail and do a full comprehensive restoration all at once. Due to funding, we may have to phase it out, which means we may not have to close the jail for as long as we anticipated, right? So that's one that is moving. Both of those are moving, and we'll bring you a more detailed update on the Old County Jail as soon as our contractor comes back with that. Also, we are having the museum, the Smithsonian's Museum on Main Street. The exhibit is titled Crossroads, Change in Rural America, coming to San Elizario May 3rd through June 15th. And so the exhibit will be housed at the Los Portales Museum and Visitor Center. But the Mission Trail Committee, your Mission Trail Committee, and our partners at Los Portales, who also participate in this committee, have worked really hard to connect with other partners along the mission trails and businesses as well to put together accompanying programming to go with the exhibit and kind of add that local flair and that local history, because the exhibit is very general. It covers themes like change, identity, land. And so this is a way for us to say, yes, let's look at it through our local lens and elevate all the different things that are happening. So there are multiple partners working on this. We have finalized the calendar. We're just making sure that we have all our venues, times, and everything settled. The museum team and our communications team here at the county are working to put together a graphic of all the events that are happening, an informational graphic, similar to what UTEP used to put out for Hispanic Heritage Month. Some of you may be familiar with those posters. So something like that. We're also working on putting together a grand opening of the exhibit on May 3rd, which will be a Saturday, and it'll be there at the museum. And of course, you'll be receiving invitations for that. So those are the projects that we're working on throughout the county. This morning and all through the day, the THC and NPS had a charrette for the old Socorro Mission site. And just to let the commission know, two of your colleagues, Mr. Mark Howe and Mr. Emil Chaparro, were at that meeting today and are there representing the Historical Commission as well as the other organizations they're connected to. And I think this is all we have so far. Are there any questions for staff?
No,
about anything else?
I was excited that, I got to attend virtually the last meeting, which was basically on the museum on Main Street, to have so much really excited community input. And, I mean, that was a really great meeting. There was a lot of, positivity. I was just thinking to myself in the meeting, though, they're not going to get back to her on the deadline.
Most of them did.
Most of them did, okay,
Most of them
okay.
did, but we just have to go back and be like,
Yeah.
okay, is this at this location?
Yeah,
Can we
so-
use this venue? Are we sure?
There is so much input. It was like, but that's a good thing.
Yeah,
so.
and they've been having these conversations since
Oh, I know.
last year.
Uh-huh.
And Commissioner Chaparro did add the virtual element to his committee meeting. So I try to attend all your committee meetings. What I'm doing for Mission Trail is he sends out the notice. We find a place to meet, usually along the Mission Trail. It changes, but along the Mission Trail in person. And then I bring a computer to have folks who can't attend in person meet virtual. So for those of you that are committee chairs, that's another option that we can definitely add to your committees. Because we want to enhance participation. We want to facilitate that as much as possible. So I'm happy to have conversations with the committee chairs about how to do that, about what support you need to continue the very important work that you're all doing.
No, that was fantastic. I mean, it just, for me to get from work to there is just, yeah, on Thursdays is not going to work, so it was
I've got a
fantastic.
comment.
Sure.
Last week, our history class went to San Elizario, and Cynthia Renteria arranged for the Museum Los Portales to be opened up, so that, and there were 2 staff members there, and they really got a lot out of it.
Awesome, awesome.
Good deal.
So they enhanced.
Did you get the
our-
impression, for the
our
most
tour
part,
of-
they'd never been there?
What?
Did you get the impression that most of the attendees it was their
Oh,
first
yeah.
time there?
Yeah, for sure.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, that's
That is
wonderful.
so good to expose people who haven't been before to, the treasures we have around town.
Well, we did the church and the history
Awesome.
of Casa Ranquillo, but they got the big overview from the museum, thanks to Cynthia.
Awesome. Thank you,
Prying the
Cynthia.
doors open for us.
Cool.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Commissioner. And I do want to let the commission know, and maybe this is another important update. Toward the end of last year, our department approved the museum adjusting their hours. So because in San Elizario, the schools are closed on Mondays, and then the museum was closed. So the museum team is making an effort to engage with students from the local district. So they've decided to open on Mondays and close on Wednesdays to kind of facilitate that engagement. They're tracking their attendance. We have a set we have a set amount of time where we're going to check in and say, are you getting more people on Monday than you were on Wednesday? And kind of tracking what that engagement looks like. But it is a good strategy that we're trying with them. But as we did for Commissioner McKenzie, should you need something on that Wednesday with enough notice, we can connect with the team and make sure that we're accommodating your needs, especially because you're taking the time to promote El Paso history.
No, that's very cool. And I think that's a great strategy to figure out if you can get students who aren't in class to go to, on the day that they're off. So very cool. All right. Well, that brings us to the close. That, again, was information only, no action taken. So does anyone want to make a motion to adjourn? Come on, y'all.
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned at 4:40. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.